Okay, I was sharing with you VUCA, what's happening now, the phenomena at the peak of the digital age. We are facing globalization and everything is volatile right now. The unexpected, the unknown, and the unstable. It's just evolving much faster than before, than ever. And the uncertainties, the causes, the effect, the conditions are all amplified because of the interconnectedness of things today. Also, complexities have built up exponential level. So horizontally, vertically, there's overwhelming variance and impact on people and societies and countries at a global level. Because of this, there's a heightened sense of ambiguity. There are unknown unknowns, and whatever solutions or the way, the methods to address all this, the VUCA phenomena is merely emergency or experimental. So that's the situation today. And so what has this given rise to? The mental health issues, right? Please bear in mind that mental wellness, there is a sense of connection to yourself and to other people. People have a sense of purpose in the old norm. They have insights into things that which give people a sense of a level of comfort, and there's an awareness of what's happening around them. But with VUCA, right, the acronym that's used today to describe all these elements, that people are feeling, people get a sense of disorientation, and some get panic attacks because they don't know what's going to happen next. And already it's been reported that this generation of children, COVID-19 children who have to face lockdowns, some of them get panic attacks if they're asked to go out and play or to mix with their friends because of social distancing and all these rules that have come into play. And then you find on social media, there's a flash, social media as well as flash mobs, all right? There's a flash and disappear situation, all right, where it destabilizes people's minds, and also it causes delusions, because with social media, you can get TikTok and so on, you get instant fame. And then the instant fame may just disappear the next day, and you will feel abandoned. You may not understand why. Also, in the past, there's lots of busyness. People are busy with work, with career, which can cause a vague sense of depression. But now, the busyness has switched over to loneliness. And there's also confusion over the changing intangibles. Why? Why? Because in this digital age, it's no longer about, it's about dematerialization. It's about simulations. It's about experiences that are online rather than in person. So it causes, when all this change, there's some confusion in the mind. It may cause conflicting perceptions or priorities because you get so much information at a click. So you get conspiracy theories and so on. Now, what impact does this have on the normal people like you and me? All right, what does to us in our life stage development is that usually when we are young, in the first part of our life, we often ask ourselves the questions: what shall we do? What will we what kind of person do we want to spend our life with? All these what questions. And in the old norm, we normally, and some people label it as midlife crisis. Really, when you reach a certain age of you get certain level of exposure, you start asking yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Okay, so the question switches from what to why in the second part of your life. But what happens with social media and the digital age of globalization is that uh, people who are asking the why question are getting younger and younger. Okay, so now I want to zoom outwards to the civilizational models, right, that we have, and how people address the issues that they face today. You will find that the East, I'm doing actually research into East-West wisdom, and you'll find that when you do research into the East-West wisdom, there are some overlapping insights. For example, virtues are highly valued in both civilizational models. It is considered the bedrock, right, of what is resilient in a civilization, virtues. And you will find the major philosophers talking about this. But when you dive deeper, you'll find that the Western worldview is inclined towards the rational and the cognitive. So as a result, you get science-based or materialism approaches. By materialism, I mean that the Western approach is to look deeper into the matter, okay, whether it's intangible or not. They try to look at it from a scientific and materialism approach. You will find that in the expressed in these 2 days by the speakers, in fact, because the Eastern worldview is inclined towards energy flow and balance. So you find that even some of the speakers here to talk about energy, healing, and so on. So the approach that's adopted mostly by the Eastern worldview is metaphysical, of the mind, or empirical, which is experiential, right? Experiential observations. Okay, so now I'll give you real examples of what it looks like. When it comes to mental health, there's the same rational cognitive approach to mental health. So, mental health will be described as addiction, post-trauma disorder, dissociation, paranoia, insomnia, fatigue. Craving is another form of addiction. And then eating disorders, and so on. Okay, and the way that the Western world would approach it is to use prescriptive chemicals to treat mental health. So you get antidepressants, antipsychotics, and so on, mood stabilizers and stimulants. And the similar approach from the Western worldview to contemplative science is that they will study the brain matter. You will find there's a lot of talk about, examining even amongst our speakers, you find that they'll wire the brains, the head, and then they'll study the brain matter, the neural networks, and neuroplasticity, and they'll even dive into the chemical messengers in your nervous system. So they'll look at the neurotransmitters, dopamine, GABA, glutamate, histamine, serotonin, and so on. Okay, so this is part of the Western worldview, to look at things from a science base and also from the materialism approach. So they study matter. However, it's generally agreed to date, there's no conclusive science-based approach to study of what is intangible, the mind. The mind is not the matter, the mind and consciousness. There's no conclusive outcome from the study so far, because it's an intangible that's not traceable as yet to date. Okay, so let me go to the Eastern approach to mental wellness and human resilience. The Eastern approach, all right, physical exercises and so on. And there's also the psychological and physiological balance, mind, emotions, and body. That's the way they address health issues. So you get acupuncture, herbal prescriptions, and so on. I'm not expert in this, but I have an expert who's willing to share information on this. So you can find the email health@eWisdom.life, where we will provide a course in detail. We don't have enough time now to do it, but it's an education course on how do you find balance in order to prevent and also restore balance in the body, the mind, and the emotions that often cause illness. They call it traditional Chinese medicine. All right. So the other Eastern approach is to look at meditation, mindful self-cultivation, which I will focus on today. There's also another layer. You can see it's all layers. Another layer of supporting factor to what is physiological, emotional, mental. All right. The physiological also includes nutrition. There's a lot of emphasis on plant-based diet, right? And mentally, the Eastern view is that your mind is the forerunner of your realities. Your mind is the one that creates your world of realities. This is something that you have got to be to take care of your mind, right? Because it creates your world of realities. And there's another layer, which is the spiritual dimension. While the West is inclined towards emphasizing science, the Eastern view talks about the spiritual dimension. So you get energy healers to talk about ghosts and so on, right? So where am I? So I'm somewhere in between because I've lived half my life in the West and I was born in the East, but I'm kind of international. So I will share with you later uh, how how you can have a middle way between the two worldviews. But first, I'd like to share how you can mindfully set your inner compass that can take you through a, a long way in your life, because there are lots of hardships in life for everyone, and the vicissitudes of life cannot guarantee that everything will be, your life will be a bed of roses, whatever your background, right? But how can you bounce back? There are 4 different domains, all right, that you need to be able, that will help you once you mindfully set your inner compass in order to build your resilience. You will be able to find your way, whatever challenges or extreme challenges or difficulties you face. If you look at this cliff, and I've done mountain climbing before in my life, I've done, and also I've had someone who come to me and ask me, why can't my life be smooth like my brother? In her case, she's always striving. She's always wanting to go higher and higher. Whereas her brother just graduates from university, gets a stable job, gets married, have family, and that's it. He looks happy from all appearances. Whereas she's always striving. And when she can't get what she wants, she is so determined that she almost wants to end her life, at one time, because she couldn't get what she wanted. So there are different ways to approach it. You can either decide to cross the abyss, because when you climb one mountain range, you reach the end, and you have to decide whether you cross over to the other side. But in between, there's an abyss. Okay, or you can decide to stay in between and do nothing, like the lamb there. Okay, so what are the 4 major domains that you need to be aware of when you set your inner compass? Okay, first of all, you need to have a sense of purpose. Where do you want to head in your life? You do not need to get fixated on the very exact picture or visualization of what you want out of life, but you can get the essence of what you want out of life. What would it feel like when you reach there? And you can plan for each stage of your life. I've done that when I was 16. I thought about what I wanted out of life when I was 16, until my hair turned white. And my teacher was like shocked, because he said, oh, I think you need B complex. But really, I reflected very deeply on what I wanted out of life. Happy to say that I've achieved almost all of it. The other thing that you need to be careful about is your values. what will you hold on to when everything else falls away? What is the value that you most hold dear? The value is the set of the standards or principles of what you judge to be important in life. And that's slightly different from the ethics. Ethics are the moral principles that govern your behavior or your conduct of certain activities, right? So for example, I have been offered 25 million US dollar in corruption money if I agree to certain practices. But I politely turned them away, turned them down. Why? Because there's certain ethics instilled in me by my family, my parents, and values as well. And that's also connected with who you are, how authentic you are as a person. And I'm fortunate again that I have parents who were role models, authentic role models. It's not always good when you're a child, but looking back, I really am grateful to my parents because, for one, my father, I still remember, he would always share about his challenges at work and his difficulties. And I used to think as a child, why can't you be invincible like a big hero? Why do you tell me about your vulnerabilities? But now, looking back, I'm so glad that he was being authentic. And my mother always told us not to put the wrong foot forward down the slope because the next foot has to follow. And then you slide down the road, the hill, and you're not able to come back again. So ethics and values. So that got instilled when I was a child. And when I went to study in the UK, my foster father said to me, I asked him, how should I conduct myself? And he said, be authentic, because wherever you are, the culture may change. But if you're authentic, then you're credible, right? And if you try to be polite and you try to cover up and be indirect, people may not understand you because there are cultural differences. So mindfully set your inner compass with these 4 domains in mind. I don't have time to go through my personal human resilience story. However, you can look at the YouTube, it's uploaded on YouTube. What I like to share is that in life, you will face, it's inevitable that you'll face ups and downs. It could be painful, right? But the suffering is optional. Why do I say the suffering is optional, right? It's because of the way you address and your belief systems, right? So pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. We can choose to suffer. We can choose not to let go of the hurt or the misfortune in our life. Okay? Or we can choose to let go. We may be hurt. We may fall down, and that's inevitable. Okay? So learn to let go. It's easier said than done. Right? How do you do it? Please look up the YouTube links to hear my stories. I was very lucky. I had the chance, after working and traveling across 5 continents as a management consultant, international management consultant, and leadership coach. I've seen the world. Then it was time for an insight journey, and I was very lucky. So what I like to share in this session is how do you come to realize that the hallmark of existence is change, constant change. For everyone, the hallmarks of existence is the same: constant change, pain, right? But in the end, if you can accept that suffering, if you can accept that in the end, there's nothing. If you let it go, there's nothing. So then suffering is optional, right? How do I do it? Let me share with you. This is something that you could also do. There are 3 different ways to develop resilience. You can email me in the top right-hand corner, the resilience at eWisdom.life, if you have certain questions you want to ask me. So, okay, 3 different meditation techniques Okay, actually 4. The first of this is insight meditation. I'll give you an analogy in regards to this. If you were flying from Australia to London, let's say Sydney to London, and you stopped in Cape Town, South Africa, you find that Cape Town is very beautiful. I've been there. It's very beautiful. The vineyards and the coast and so on. And then you say, okay, this is enough for me. That's fine. So likewise, insight meditation, right? In that particular travel analogy, you decide not to go to your destination, which is London. That's fine. If that's what you choose, that's fine. Now, insight meditation is moment-to-moment awareness. Some people call it mindful meditation. That would be like flying from Sydney to Cape Town. You haven't yet decided, you've decided not to go to London. There are differences in mindfulness. Mindfulness is actually the process. It's not the end destination, right? And we call it insight meditation. What is insight meditation? It helps you cultivate mental strength. You develop awareness and a feeling of equanimity. When you have this, you're able to face any challenges that's thrown at you, any instability in your life, right? So it's actually the counterweight to the hardships and roller coaster any emotional roller coasters based, thrown at you by life experiences. The other thing is that when you practice insight meditation the right way, you will progressively cut down anger, addiction, mental delusions, and negativities in your mind. And the purification starts with what's in your life right now. Then it goes to the early childhood part of your life. And when you continue with the process of insight meditation, you progressively cut down, and my belief is that you cut down the impurities in your mind, as some have mentioned, have labeled it as the subconscious, all right? It's a self-cultivation approach. So what happens with insight meditation? You replenish your positive energy and you balance your willpower and determination. So some people who have come out of insight meditation retreats report that they feel like, wow, they can conquer the world because there's so much more energy. This is what happens when you practice insight meditation. For those people who are facing who have a lot of anger in them, or they're facing ill will or animosity in their environment, or they want to improve emotional connection with others, or if they want to fortify themselves against enmity or negative energies and forces, you can practice metta meditation. This is a kind of radiation. You can practice metta meditation inwards and progressively outwards to your neighbors, to your family and friends, and outwards to the world. Okay, metta meditation, it works. Then there's another 2 types of meditation. They involve affirmations, and one is gratitude. It generates positive mindset and appreciative attitudes to the people around you. It also helps to develop your spirit of generosity. There's another one that's quite important in terms of meditation, and that's the meditation to release the hurt and hatred inside you, or any grudges that you have towards other people in your past. And it's a kind of meditation to help you break from trauma from the past, intergenerational trauma. And what has happened with that trauma is that cumulative effect, inherited effect of hostility, bitterness, and psychosomatic that results in pain in your body. Okay, So these are the different types of meditation to develop resilience. And I will show you, as a beginner, you could do you could do a brisk left-right walk, right? Let me and then because this is the normal way of walking, right? Then you progressively move to the slower step. It's a way to slow down, moment to moment awareness. I will go through this more in detail on another occasion, but I just want to show you there are actually 6 phases of walking meditation steps. Okay, we have limited time, so I want to go to the next one. In terms of daily activities, there's the mindfulness process, moment to moment, and you will be fully aware of what's happening moment to moment in your contemplation. So these are the things that you have to be aware of. So what I want to say is that the purpose of insight meditation is not mindfulness process in itself. Nor is it merely techniques for stress reduction, as some psychologists would like to promote to you. It's not merely that. I have a Muslim friend whom I brought for meditation, and she said she felt mental bliss, right? She was asked by the monk at that time, this was quite a while ago, what is what is the value that she holds most dear? And she said, Allah. So in her case, she was taught the method, and she experienced mental bliss. So it's more than that. These are all byproducts and impactful effects of self-cultivation of mental strength. Ultimately, the goal of insight meditation is wisdom. That is the goal, right? When you have fully developed insightful and resilient human capacity, it helps you address a lot of issues in life. Okay, so I come to the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I think my presentation was quite long, and so if you have any questions, please ask at this website that I've just created, and I will launch it in July. But meanwhile, you can write to me at ask@eWisdom.life. Any questions about my presentation today, or any thing that you're not so clear about. In September, we will have someone who will give a course on mind, emotion, and physiological balance, right? You can write to us at health@eWisdom.life. And in terms of the mind and consciousness, which the Western world has not yet found scientific study, they've done scientific studies, have not come up with a lot of outcomes. I will provide you free of charge on my website resource. And it will be YouTube links. Okay, so please feel free to sign up for free 2-hour weekend meditation tasters this month, and it will be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because in the Middle East, the day off is Friday, right? Please email to resilience@eWisdom.life and tell me what's your name, share with me what's your name, which day you prefer, where's your location, so that we can plan the meditation cohorts. All right. Thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation.